Hello, my name is Liana Lupas. I'm the curator of the scripture collection at American Bible Society, which means actually that I'm the librarian in charge of one of the largest collection of printed Bibles in the world. We have about 46,000 copies of the Bible in more than 2,500 languages and dialects. I'm very proud to be in charge of such a collection, and I love each and every one of my books. Thank you. This little book is one of the most precious books in our collection. It is a copy of the Pentateuch, translated in English by William Tyndale. Tyndale at the time was an exile. He was living on the continent. He had already translated and had already published the first English New Testament to be printed in 1526. In 1530, he followed up with the Pentateuch. Of the 3,000 copies that the New Testament had been printed in, only 3 survived. The Pentateuch may have had a similar press run. Fewer than 10 copies survived. And this is one of those very few copies. Unfortunately, our copy is defective. It lacks everything from the prologue to Genesis 49. We have just the last chapter in Genesis here. Then there are the book of Exodus and Leviticus, and basically that's all there is in our bound copy, but still it's an extraordinary book. It was the third English translation of the Bible to be printed and published, and the first one to be based on the Hebrew text rather than on the Latin. The earliest complete English translation of the Bible was done by John Wycliffe and his followers in the 1380s, before the invention of printing, and it was based on the Latin Vulgate. With the Reformation, trend changed, and the idea was widespread that we should translate the Bible from its original, Hebrew for the Old Testament, Greek for the New Testament. And that's what Tyndale did. And he earned a martyr's crown in the process, because his work was rejected, his beliefs were rejected, and he ended up being an exile on the continent. And while he was still working on his translation of the Bible, he was betrayed, he was arrested in 1535, and 1 year later he was condemned for heresy and burnt at the stake. He was mercifully strangled before being burnt alive, but he finished his life there. The tragic irony of the situation is that by 1535, when he was arrested, Henry VIII had already changed his policy and had already become a Protestant, basically. He would have been spared if he lived in England, but that was not the case. When we open this book, we can see that the early pages are printed in black letter, Gothic type. When we go to the later parts of the book, we can see that they are printed in Roman type, which means that there were maybe 2 different printers, maybe 2 different printing shops. We don't know for sure. We can also see that there are marginal notes that Tyndale put. Some of these marginal notes are very critical of the Pope, and that didn't help with Tyndale's trial at all. In a later edition, those notes were edited out, and maybe Tyndale himself may have changed his mind about being so polemical in a translation of the Bible. We don't know that for sure. The importance of Tyndale's translation cannot be stressed enough. It inspired the next great printing of the entire Bible, which was done in 1537 and is known as Matthew's Bible. In Matthew's Bible, the New Testament is Tyndale's New Testament, the Pentateuch is Tyndale's Pentateuch, and the rest of the historical books of the Old Testament are probably based on Tyndale's now lost manuscript. Tyndale was working on completing the Bible translation when he was arrested. And there is reason to believe that his manuscripts were used by Rogers when he printed the Matthew's Bible. And they are an important part of the sources used by the King James translators. In addition to publishing his translation of the New Testament and of the Pentateuch, Tyndale also managed to publish his translation of the book of Jonah, which is one of the shortest books in the Bible. Why did he feel that the book of Jonah was so important? Well, Luther had felt the same. Luther has published a separate translation of the book of Jonah before being able to print his translation of the entire Bible. So here we may see another influence of Luther on William Tyndale. And this certainly didn't help his being convicted.